live. Welcome everybody. Apologies for the slight technical issues at the start there. I'm really delighted to be joined by Andreatte, who's been one of our long-term partners here at the Central London Careers Hub. Has done some amazing work with the Gentlemen Baristas. I'll allow Andreatte to introduce herself fully in a moment. But yeah, I've seen firsthand some of the really innovative work, especially around working with students with SEND that's occurred over the last year. And Andreatte is one of our enterprise advisors, as well as her full-time role at the Gentlemen Baristas, and brings a huge amount of experience and sort of expertise from industry into this space. And we're really, really grateful to have Andreatte on the network and presenting for us today on work experience and kind of work insights and how to do those in really effective ways. So Andreatte, welcome, and over to you.
Thank you. It's quite an intro. So yeah, I've enjoyed working with Reading Partnership for some time. I find their support really helpful and beneficial, and I hope you find some of what we discussed today just spark some ideas and give you a bit of inspiration as to how you can do work experiences and insight visits, really, to suit your business and suit your own needs. So that's the idea behind today. So I've just done a little PowerPoint presentation, which will just give you a bit of an insight as to what we've done, different ways of potentially doing it, and then we can just go from there. We'll have a nice little Q&A session at the end, and feel free to fire sort of any questions as and when. But the idea behind today is just really to inspire you to potentially consider something different and just get a feel for something new. The presentation I will hopefully get up in a second, and then I will just go through some bits and pieces in there and give you more of an insight into the company and everything that we've done. So yeah, those are just the three brands, just so you can see the imagery behind it. So you can see the coffee shop, the bakery, and the one in Harrods is the one where we've got the two lovely smiley chefs. You can pop to the next slide. So this is just really what we'll cover. So it's just why consider it, things that you can do site-based, how you can make it work for you, how to get the team involved, why I believe it works, and then just a Q&A session. Okay, perfect. So why to consider it? Right, so the benefits of work experience, from what I have seen, is that it allows obviously students to get some hands-on experience in a new surrounding, because I think a lot of people understand the work environment but don't necessarily have a feel for it once they actually enter that working world. It also allows them to really spend some time in gaining the knowledge in the industry, and maximizes young adults with a chance of employability, because a lot of people obviously want someone to have studied their field and everything else, but until you have the experience, it's quite difficult for a young person to actually walk in and find a job. So I think by at least offering the work experience part of it, allows them to really overcome those boundaries and find a way into the workplace and suit other people. And obviously allows you to work with a new and very diverse age group. I find working with Gen Z in particular is quite a new way of sort of adapting and allowing a different way of work. And it really allows you to open up different boundaries or break different boundaries that you would never have thought of before. So I think it's really helpful in that respect. And then it allows the employer to empower key individuals to build a different skill set. So for us in particular, our finance team were quite shy when it came to interacting with students and that type of thing. So I found this was quite a good way of building their soft skills and actually allowing them to really collaborate in a different way, and obviously build their team and the adaptability that they have overall. So that's the why. And then what has worked well for us overall has been, obviously, as I've said, we've got the three different brands. So we can do quite a lot of things site-based, but what we've sort of tried to do is analyze the team, analyze the strengths, analyze what we have. So we have a founder that basically had the idea of starting the coffee shop at the age of 15. So it was really good to get into his mind and sort of let him explain to the students, actually, this is what happens when you have a great idea. This is how you can make it a reality. This is the fruitfulness of the reality of running a coffee group, and just really inspire people to think in a different way, or actually go, actually, yes, my idea could actually become something that could be really beneficial and great in the long run. And then also the operational team. So a lot of our operational team are actually grown within. So it's just how you can sort of start from the very beginning and actually work your way up into a really nice and long-term and fruitful career after all. And then we had like a coffee making experience, which whilst we didn't let the students actually touch the coffee machines or anything like that, or any dangerous equipment, it's more, this is the love and care that goes into this product. This is how you do it. This is how you can weigh. This is how you can actually play with the milk and get a feel for everything. And then the roastery tours have been really beneficial because it's more like a factory sort of setup. So you can learn about deliveries, you can learn about taking orders, you can get involved with actually packing the bags. And in terms of the SEND schools, it's been really helpful because it's been really sensory. So people have actually got to touch the beans, touch the coffee bags and everything else, do the stickers, get really, really hands-on and involved. So I think that's been the most beneficial and also helpful for the roastery team because they got to do things in a different way and adapt the way that they work and do it in a way that really worked for everyone. So it was a huge success in my opinion. And then we obviously had the students come to one of the coffee shops and actually had our food photographer get involved in a session. So although he works independently and self-employed, I just asked him to sort of have a play with the students and actually let them see how you really take a decent photo of a really good cup of coffee and some food and everything else. And the experience that the students gained from that, as well as him as an individual, was just wonderful because it was something he was never exposed to. And the students just were buzzing after the experience, and it was just really good. And then the people team I use in order to utilize sort of CV experiences. So just bringing the CV to us, right? What do you think of this? Will this work? How can I make it better? How do I explain that I've never had a job? How can I make my life experiences something exciting? And then just tailor making and helping them understand what people really look for when they are ready to be employed. And then online, I mean, I think when it comes to everyone's just jam-packed with work and it's a busy time of the year and everything else, it's just about thinking, right, what can we do that still helps, but something that can work for everyone. So, you know, a session like this or anything else that could be tailor-made, particularly for the students. Then obviously you can bring them to you. So what we do is bring people into the head office and they can do a little session with the HR team, IT team, finance team, and actually see what it's like to do a little bit of budget setting or what you could do and just tailor make sort of your budgets and everything else so that they don't see the real figures if they don't need to, but you can actually do something. Connor's given our, I don't know if everyone gets the report, but I think when you actually break it down and look at what's been asked for, you'll be amazed at how many team members and employees that you have that actually have studied something completely different that could actually give the students an insight and really give an hour of their lives, which could be really beneficial and helpful to the schools. So I love this part of Read and what they actually do. And then there's projects that could aid the organization. So even when it comes to sort of prepping a boardroom for a meeting, or even thinking of, okay, how can we plan and organize a day or a staff meeting or that type thing, just getting students really to think, okay, what do we need to do? How do we do it? Oh, that's why so much care goes into it. And hopefully they'll take those experiences back to their home or to their school or anyone really, and they'll just build from that one little insight that you give them and just give those minds direction. I find when you do the sort of career days and everything else, it's really good in terms of introducing things, but until people have really seen and felt that experience, they don't really know how to put it into practice. So for me, opening your doors and making yourself quite accessible to this group of really diverse people just really helps you. And it makes you see things in a very different perspective and helps you as the back end, the employer, to actually think, okay, are we doing things right? Are we competitive enough? Do we actually value diversity and inclusion as much as we should? Are we actually looking at the students in the way that we should? And I think it really helps you liaise back with your stakeholders and learn from these experiences and make them a real working thing. Then there's team and their involvement. So for me, I love getting everyone involved in this because I believe if you look at everyone individually, even though they're shy in summit and might not want to get involved initially, when you actually encourage them, support them, and try be alongside them just to sort of build up that experience, you'll be amazed as to what they can achieve. And I think for soft skills and just overall sort of confidence skills, this really helps everyone within the team. So the different sort of sessions we've had, like the entrepreneurial chat, we had this massive feedback session after that where all the students were like, oh, that was so amazing, engaging, it really inspired us, which is really good to hear and understand, and especially for the founder, because yes, he doesn't have all the time in the world to come and have that chat, but to know that he potentially reached 6 or 7 students in a positive way was good for him. He felt like he'd achieved something different for the day. The middle sort of session is when we did the food photography bit. And then they actually got and prepped a dish and everything else. So it was really hands-on, but quite nice. And then we did a careers week at the Treehouse School, which is quite high spectrum autistic students. But again, just getting that whole sensory feeling. So feeling those beans, packing it and everything else. The students were so engaged and passionate about everything. It just felt like such a good sort of thing to be involved with. So it was a wonderful experience. And then we have the bottom ones, which that's the founder that I was discussing earlier. So he's the chap that had the 15-year-old wise idea and then really formulated and made a really good plan. And then the middle one is working with Queen Jubilee School, which is one of the sort of higher spectrum schools in London. And they don't have as many options as most schools actually get in terms of work experience. So to partner up with them, I think has been one of the most rewarding experiences because it allows their students to have equal opportunities, just like anyone else's students get. But they really struggle in terms of getting employers to partner with them. But I think if you ever have the opportunity to meet Reham, you will understand how passionate she is and how you also want to help and just give her students just as much of a chance as anyone else. And then the final little picture is just the roastery. So we did like a mini production line with everyone and just got them real like used to the whole packing and this is how you organize and this is where the deliveries go and this is how you do the whole process for everything. So very hands-on, real life, and hopefully will aid in getting employment one day. And as I touched on before, just in terms of the team, these are just sort of individuals that had never ever considered getting involved with any work experience or schools or anything else. But overall, this really enriched them as an individual. And Imran in particular has taken this on, as well as Christina, who's the recruitment manager. And they both have actually signed up to be enterprise advisors and everything themselves because they really do feel the difference that it makes when you do just give a little bit of your time and give access to the skills that you have, because I think a lot of us just take it for granted that we've got all this information, knowledge, experience and everything that we've built along the way, but we just keep it bottled up. And if you can just relay at least 10% of that to anyone that you come across, I think it's just incredible. Reham from Queen Jubilee, obviously she's very keen on working with us forever, and trust me, she'd have us every week if she could. But you manage expectations along the way and you try accommodate as much as you can with everything. So I think there's always ways. I think even if schools do contact you quite passionately because they love what you've done, you have to tailor make it around the business and it has to obviously suit the business needs. But I think by tapping into all those resources, you can actually work quite well and well connected with them, in my opinion. So we've sort of touched on this throughout, and I'm conscious that I'm blabbering on, but this is just the why it works, in my opinion. So I think it attracts a new, diverse generation to your industry. I'm not entirely 100% sure what your industries are, but for me, hospitality in particular has been an industry that people often look at disapprovingly or don't particularly engage with because they don't know the options that it can do for you or actually the doors that it can open. So for me, it's very beneficial engaging with the youth of today for that. It allows people to showcase and highlight some positive attributes. So again, this is when you're looking at those teams that you want to build their soft skills with, or you want to give them the confidence to talk about something, I think this really allows you to do that and shows the younger workforce the next sort of steps for employability. Because I think when you're in school, you've got that wonderful safety net, but when you do actually have to reach that big wide world, it's really good just to have had those steps along the way and open those doors that may never have been opened. And then, as I said, it engages the stakeholders with a very different perspective and viewpoint. I think it really allows that community partnership and community building, which I think is very beneficial in times like today. So yeah, massively important for me. And engages the workforce to be more adaptable and changing. I think you have to adapt, obviously, as times change, as things happen. And this allows that opportunity. And for me, as I've said, I find it very rewarding. And so far, touch wood, everyone that I've introduced this to have been exactly the same. They've benefited from it, found something really amazing from it. So for me, I will carry on with this as long as I possibly can, just to make sure that everyone gets the reward from it. And that is me talking, thankfully. So I'd really like to open this up to you and sort of get your viewpoints. Have you tried something that's absolutely amazing that you'd like to share amongst the group, or is there anything that you would love to do but you don't know how to start, or anything really? Or you can type it in the Q&A. Did you have something, Barney?
Not particularly. I'm sorry, I came in a little bit late, so
Okay.
apologies for that.
No, don't worry.
So just so I'm clear, are you an employer, Andreatte?
Yes, employer.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, and I was just trying to Google who Tofi was and how it works. 'Cause I was trying to understand the business model, but it sounds really interesting. I'm from an HEI.
Okay.
So for me, employability is what we do.
Yeah.
And but we sit on both sides. So we sit on the employer side because we employ graduates and we employ students. And we also give them huge numbers of volunteering opportunities to support us with the work that we do. So, we obviously see employability as a very key thread running through our entire business. It's absolutely essential that students get opportunities to experience work in whatever form that might take before they leave us with an award or qualification. So from our perspective, it's absolutely fundamental. But we also see it as our civic mission to engage with wider stakeholders and businesses around about to engage with them on this issue as well. So I was just here to just to listen to you speak as an employer, because it's something that I want to reach out more widely to. That whole stakeholder engagement piece is something that we're going to be driving. I'm from a university, and so and we're moving to Canary Wharf in June. So I'm going to be looking at that whole piece quite closely and intently for the next 6 months. But it's just interesting to listen to you talk, and it's really heartwarming to hear that you also see the positive aspects of engaging with this approach. I have to say our students are very different to the ones that you've engaged with. Our students are more mature. They already have work experience, but they're looking to upgrade. So for them, some of them already run their own businesses.
Oh, great.
And are very successful at it, but actually are looking to take the next step, perhaps looking at succession planning and moving on to something else themselves. So it's a very different type of person who we deal with. So, but it's interesting to get that feedback from you, and it's great to hear it. And it kind of gives me some insights and informs me about how I might want to take my own strategy forward. So thank you for that.
Yeah, brilliant.
Good.
If I could just add something there, which I think is fundamental. So I lead on our employer engagement partnerships here at the Central London Careers Hub, so across all of Central London. And a couple of the fundamentals I found is, which I think Andrea has touched on really, really clearly there, is that employers have different motivations for wanting to get involved in this space. And what I find typically, and maybe a generalization, but typically those smaller community focused organizations are much more likely to get involved on that social value, that really community social value piece. If there are challenges in this area, and I want to, you know, if I look at Lewisham, there's, you know, the job density in Lewisham's like 0.47 jobs per head in Lewisham. It's really tight and really difficult. So when we're talking to young people about opportunities, then actually getting local business along on that is often their hook, really, for them to want to engage in that space. Whereas the larger organisations I found in my time are much more thinking about, investing in the future of industry. And I guess, Andreatte, your organisation spans both of those a little bit, doesn't it? You do have a really kind of industry focus, whereas also that local touch, I guess.
Yeah, definitely with the hospitality side of things. I think the property and agriculture is the more forward-thinking and planning part.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do think there are fundamentals across those things. I had a question, Andreatte. What advice would you have for an employer who gets all of this and kind of, you know, sees it and says, yeah, this is a brilliant thing to do, and we'd love to be involved, but we're just worried about, you know, we've not done it before, and we're worried about time and resource and capacity. And I quite often get far down the road in conversations where I think, this person's really buying into this, and then when it comes to the getting started, it starts to go a bit cold. What advice would you have for an employer who sort of thinks it's a great idea but struggles to actually then see the practical next step?
I would just say throw it all in and go for it, because the worst that can happen is you feel a bit uncomfortable the first time you do it. But if you surround yourself with people like within Reed, there's always someone that will look at a presentation, look at the way you're planning on hosting something, at least partner up with a Reed partnership for me obviously works. And then just ask your peers. There's always someone that's willing to get involved, or someone that's actually a lot more confident in doing this. You may actually find that someone's done this in the past, you just haven't been aware. I think it's all about looking at people that you have and looking at the resources that you have too.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And I guess one of the things that I would just add to that around, I think work experience is one of those things that goes quite deep with people, because we all remember our first experience at work, don't we? And whether that was particularly useful or not. I don't think mine was particularly useful, and it colours things. But I certainly have conversations where people think, you know, a week of work experience, we just don't have the resource for that. And why does it need to be a week of work experience? We can get really short, sharp, high impact stuff happening without breaking the bank on capacity.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge you'll find, is just convincing everyone else that actually this is not as daunting as it seems. If you do just give an hour here, or, you know, just do what you can to tailor make it around the business so that it doesn't feel like an extra thing to do. It feels like a nice thing to do.
And I think that is a wonderful note to end on, unless anybody has any further questions for Andreatte whilst we have her time. Well, just from our side, Andreatte, thank you so much for all that you've done and continue to do, and thank you for this today. We will be, I know we had some technical issues at the start, but my video editing skills will skillfully, it will look seamless once it's posted on YouTube, and I'll make sure that we do have the link sent out to you all. Thank you for being here. And if anybody is considering some, you know, work with schools in any sense, but certainly around work experience and work and insights of industry, then please do reach out to us here at the Careers Hub, because we, like Andreatte says, we've got a whole team ready to support and keen to hear from you. So thank you again. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you, Andreatte.
Thank you.